I think the idea here is that Old Navy clearly has been the boat holding up the other two sinking ships here, Banana Republic and the Gap.
That's
of course.
harsh. Are they sinking?
It's a little harsh, but it's you look at the Gap. I mean, they've been comping negative for years. It's the market cap is a quarter of what it used to be. So I think the idea is that you separate Old Navy and you unlock all this value. However, if you look at what Old Navy numbers are doing currently, the business is decelerating. So it raises the question, are we doing this at the peak of the business?
Do you think they are?
I think potentially they are here. I mean, you've seen Old Navy comps decelerate, and everybody's talking about, of course, the weather has been uncooperative and all sorts of other things. But you're talking peak, again, operating margins, and you're talking about, the company said themselves, Old Navy is currently not sick, but perhaps has caught a cold this winter.
Yeah, I found that to be, in some ways, refreshing that they said that. I mean, most CEOs are sort of a little more optimistic. I mean, that was a tough statement, even saying that they're sick. Do you feel that they're going to get better anytime soon?
I mean, I think it's tough. We know that the market, the apparel market, is incredibly competitive. We know the market is shifting online, which is a lower margin proposition. We know that there continues to be deflation in apparel. So to look at the operating margins and say, hey, they're going to recover, they're going to bounce back, things are going to get less competitive. By the way, we just had the best consumer environment ever in 2018. I think it's a bit of a hard sell, and it's a show me story.
What we don't know is the distribution. Okay, if you own shares of the Gap, GPS, you're going to get some kind of combination now of the two stocks.
Right.
The Gap and the NewCo.
Right.
Or Old Navy, rather, and the NewCo. Do you think the market, either way, is overreacting here with a 24% gain? Because the short interest is high, but it's not that high.
Right. The short interest is 11%, so that doesn't explain the 20+% jump here. I think the market is overreacting to this because you're assuming that by separating these two companies, yes, you'll be able to focus and separate, focusing on two different customers, but is that going to be able to create this kind of value in terms of margins, in terms of recovery and revenues? I don't think so.
Does 1 + 1 = 2.5?
And not always. I mean,
if you split the two companies, are you going to, as a shareholder, are you going to get more than the sum of the current parts?
Well, I think, again, you do create value by separating assets that really don't belong together, because you can't put differing assets in one pot and invest in a like-minded way. So yes, you will create value for Old Navy perhaps, but this much value that the market is assuming, and also you have to take into account that Gap itself is not improving, and Banana Republic, they talked about they pulled back on promotions, and what happened? The traffic went down. So they'll probably likely have to go back to the promotional stance there. So if you look at all the moving parts and say, hey, what have I got here going forward? I think the rally that we've seen is a bit of a hard sell.
Bottom line, investors should not maybe now fall into the Gap?
I mind the Gap, I would say.
Mind the Gap. Somebody who lives in London. Stacey Widlitz, great analysis on a big story. Thank you very much.